Welcome back, everybody, to the MMA Depressed Us with me, Zane Simon, and my co-hosts, Connor Rebish and Phil McKenzie. We are here once again because the UFC is not here. They're taking a week off, and that means we've got to perform some self-punishment and watch a bunch of really bad MMA. Now, last week, we kind of failed. We actually watched exciting fights on accident.
Made the mistake of watching good fights.
Yeah. Who would have thought Roy Nelson versus Mirko Cro Cop 1 would actually be a pretty fun fight?
Yeah.
Who would have thought that Robbie Lawler losing to Babaluso Brawl would have actually been a pretty good contest too? Like,
They'd already left my mind. I admire the fact that you still remembered what we watched on the last episode of this show, but thinking of them, yeah, that was kind of fun.
At least we got our good bad right on that one. And Tank Abbott versus Scott Ferrazza was classic good bad fight.
Good times. I've forgotten all of them already, and I'll forget them again in 30 seconds. But for the moment, I'm remembering being happy.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to get driven out by the list of trash that we have to watch this time, which is...
Please crush my happy memories. Help me, fellas.
This time we've worked a little harder to make sure that we really ramp up the badness. We're going to start out with a classic from UFC 15, I believe. Tsuyoshi Kohsaka versus Kimo Leopoldo. Nothing like some Kimo Leopoldo decision win action decision action. I don't even know if he won this, but Kimo Leopoldo going to decision is guaranteed badness. And then we've got, for our bad, one of the boring MMA kings, an OG that we have kind of skipped out on for, I don't know, just because his fights were mostly so forgettable, we've forgotten most of them. John Fitch, and we're doing John Fitch versus Akihiro Gono. We did this one picked this one based off fight metric numbers, which had Gono landing a total of like 9 significant strikes over 3 rounds, and Fitch landing about 35, I think, out of 35 significant strikes out of 170 odd total strikes.
Fitch landing hundreds of blows, only a couple dozen of which were deemed significant, which sounds like a classic dull John Fitch fight.
So that's our bad fight. And then our capper, a modern disappointing classic. Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko. Their first fight was great. In the rematch, how could Amanda Nunes do anything other than self-destruct or totally blow Shevchenko out of the water? It's really easy. She could just stand at range and not engage for 5 rounds. So we will watch the point fight medley that was Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko 2 as our capper of the day. At which point I think we're going to be pretty thoroughly depressed. I mean, I'm kind of already actually dreading that now that I think about it.
Really, really unhappy right now. I was thinking, does Shevchenko Nunes 2 count as like Wonder Boy Woodley fanfic? It's like Amanda Nunes, like, hey, let's have that exact same fight, but what if it went the other way for no real reason? Right? Like, it's kind of that.
Also, let's have that fight with no significant moments of offense. Like, not even those moments where like Woodley did something and you were like, someone's doing something. No.
Yeah. Remember those glimmers of violence that undercurrent of violence has suggested that a fight could have been going on? Let's get rid of that part.
Is it also fair to say that it's a very modern fanfic take on the Woodley Wonder Boy because it's with women? So we're just updating it for our more modern audience.
All of my Tyron Woodley fanfic does feature Tyron Woodley as a woman, so it's going to be a useful episode for me. If you happen to hear furious scribbling over here while the fight's going on, just ignore it.
Okay, I can't even make.
Just scribbling, Zane, okay? Just scribbling. If you hear something else, you can point it out. You can point it out, but I'm not obligated to admit what I'm doing.
I can't even make the terrible, like, Trisha Woodley joke that I was going to make in there.
Irene?
Yeah. Irene.
Stephanie Thompson?
Stephanie Thompson. Okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no. We're done with that avenue of that thought train needs to be derailed right now. On that note, we're gonna jump right in and debase ourselves horribly with Tsuyoshi Kohsaka versus Kimo Leopoldo. As always, if you're following along at home for the show, we are using Fight Pass versions of all the fights. We are not using the Fight of the Night version of a fight if there is a Fight of the Night version, which I think there might be for Kohsaka Leopoldo, which I have no fucking clue why.
Could be, but remember the first knockout of the night in UFC history was who's the American Russian anarchist guy? Jeff Monson, scoring like a completely unimpressive uppercut, dirty boxing. So the awards from early UFC cards aren't necessarily indicative.
These Fight of the Night things are being dubbed post way later in like video production only. So they just have a recut version for some bullshit reason. I don't know. Anyway, we're using the longer versions of everything. You don't want to skip any of the punishment. We will count you down into the start of the video. We are starting everything at the beginning of the, at minute 0 of the Fight Pass video. So we will count you in 3, 2, 1. We will all go. And then Connor will do his damnedest to interrupt us when the round is about to start and tell everybody the round is starting, so we can also sync there if you're using your own video source or something else. So on that note, let's get started. Tsuyoshi Kohsaka, Kimo Leopoldo, UFC, I think it's 15, the little white
16,
thing.
I think.
16.
16, okay. The white circle is totally disrupting my ability to check, and I don't want to look it up on Google because I'm lazy. And all right. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
So this was back in the subtitle era of the UFC. Do you think they would have called UFC 16 technically legal? I mean, that has multiple different meanings for the terrible, unconscionable violence we're about to see. God, just look at Kimo's, his face.
And this is like, if nothing else says this is the tough person era of UFC, it's like, before like the athlete era started up, like just the pictures here, like those are some flat faces.
Yeah, these are guys who who cut their teeth winning like Tough Enough open weight competitions in like strip club parking lots. And this is how they got to the pinnacle of MMA and US.
Kimo literally did just lie about having a black belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And that was how he got into the UFC.
Also, Taekwondo, like,
they didn't know
all the
then.
martial arts
they didn't know.
for Kimo, that is like my favorite option that they went for.
I think he used to play like D3 college football or something. There's Maurice Smith looking like he's selling a softball or like a baseball batting practice infomercial equipment.
Yep. Love that background. Boy, Maurice Smith and Daniel Cormier should be friends, right? They are both the daddest looking dudes on the planet.
He is so incredibly out of place in these UFCs. He just looks so damn wholesome.
You can just tell his t-shirt's tucked into his jeans out of frame, and then fucking Kimo comes storming into the arena. Oh, sorry, it's Kohsaka. It's Kohsaka. Japanese pro wrestling, not Kimo yet. Gary Goodridge lied about having some kind of weird grappling background.
Yeah, he had Tang Sudo, which was also a bullshit sort of pseudo martial art idea.
Strip mall martial art.
Won't panic.
He was,
solid.
He'd done some kickboxing at the time, and he was a Canadian arm wrestling champion. and they needed to get. He wanted to get into the UFC. He saw a bid. You know, it was like, oh, I want to be a part of this. And I can't remember. I think with his kickboxing background, he like shopped. Either he shopped himself to the Tang Soo Do Academy, or they came to him, and he was basically
they came to him because he was like, I need some kind of certification. They're like, hey, you can say you represent us. We'll get some free press out of it.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and I read up on all that history once years and years ago.
Supposedly, the story is that the rear crucifix that he used to brutally knock a guy out at that event, because I don't know what event it was, but it was the one where Gary Goodridge was wearing a conspicuous black gi. Apparently, that was a move he had like learned 2 days before from these people who gave him a bogus black belt. So, could be
that is one
false.
of the only like legitimately cool like finishes from those.
Savage, absolutely.
It's one of the only ones that you can look at and be like, whoa.
Yeah. Gary, it just goes to show Gary Goodridge is the superior chemo, but it goes to show that just lying about having any martial arts experience was a pretty viable strategy in the early 90s MMA world.
Oh yeah. As we talked about before, this is core era
Submission skills. Look at
that's the best bit.
Also, great athlete. Yeah, certainly very plump, but great athlete, not so sure. He looks like chemo looks like the chicken breasts you buy frozen in the store, and they've been filled with saline solution, so they look nice and juicy.
Chemo stomach tat.
Yeah, chemo looks like he would dry out as soon as he touched the grill. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Oh Lord. Oh, now they have chemo listed as Brazilian JJ somehow. Not even jiu-jitsu, just JJ.
Shouldn't that be Brazilian JJ?
JJ.
His discipline
they just couldn't fit it in.
Kohsaka is a sub. He's actually like, you know.
Tank Abbott on commentary. I wish I was hearing this. Holy shit,
I do as well. He looks so like...
Yeah.
He looks so ebullient. He's just like, well, you can just imagine this guy. Well, we're about to see a couple of guys really go at it.
Commentary. That's the thing. Is it like he was very much like that kind of trying to sound really smart on commentary, and then he would just say something like awful and derogatory, and just like really horrible. They'd have to like scramble and cover up and pretend they didn't hear it for like.
Now, you see, Dan, what they have are the sort of complementary styles, except the one style is rolling around like a queer on the floor. Thank you, Tank. Sorry, we're calling you David. That's your presentable name. Thank you, Dave. Boy, I'm ready for this, man. I'm getting geared up again. This early 90s aesthetic has really got me hyped.
Bruce Buffer with his like one gray curl. So that he looks like I'm trying to think what superhero he is, or like is he like Rogue from the X-Men or something? Whatever.
Bruce Buffer is like, his whole life is just like a high school yearbook collection of high school yearbook photos where you just take a snapshot of any moment in his life and imagine yourself as Bruce Buffer being painfully embarrassed that you once decided to look like that. Oh, it's this era. It's the silver tux Bruce Buffer era. Oh no, it's the one single gray pompadour era. Oh.
Well, it's all high school yearbook photos of somebody who got voted like most likely to succeed, but only because everybody was sure it was really like most likely to become a serial killer or something, but they didn't want to say that. They couldn't say that in the yearbooks. Like, oh yeah, he's really outgoing and loud.
All right, round one's about to begin here.
Or most likely to sell used cars. I think that would have been.
Yeah, that works. It's like the best hair pictures from Arrested Development. I don't know if anyone else remembers those, but okay, here we go. Round one starting. Big John in the cutoff tee, looking good. And now,
Chemo.
Oh my god! Chemo runs out, hits Kohsaka. Something's happening on the ground.
This is where you get to see tons and tons of the infamous Kohsaka guard, the TK guard.
Oh.
He was a guard pioneer of laying on your back and not doing anything.
Oh my god! Right away, a fucking step over ankle lock attempt from Chemo. The heel hook.
Submissions?
Skills? Submissions, yes. Skills, no. We've answered that
take
question.
His shoe off. That's actually the secret of the whole.
He's gonna force him to tap out to tickling. He just has to remove the shoe first.
And no, for the rest of the fight, then Kohsaka will walk like all uneven because he'll have one heel like higher off the ground than the other.
It's brilliant, really.
Yeah.
Come on, who grabs a shoe?
Boy, why aren't we watching Joe's son?
Oh Lord, yeah, there's a connection.
Who throws a shoe, honestly? One of the best lines from that entire movie. That's not a joke. Austin Powers holds up, by the way. That movie's still funny.
Chemo is going to gas himself out horribly.
What's Kohsaka's background?
Submissions.
No, they didn't even give him a question mark.
Yeah.
I mean, they
just said
he's just like he's a shoot wrestler, right?
You know, I don't even know at this point. Here, I'll go check.
All I remember is that he won't panic.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, I see one sign of panic from him in this fight. I'm calling bullshit.
He was in judo, and then eventually jiu-jitsu, but unsurprisingly, a Japanese guy with a background in judo.
Getting thrown around so easily by Chemo Leopoldo.
Yeah, I'm not saying that judo doesn't count for much in MMA, but for a long time, certainly, it really did not count for much of anything. Like, it seemed to be one of those martial arts that nobody had figured out how to adapt to MMA. And people
I think that's strange, because I think judo adapts fairly well.
It does, but for a lot of years, like, you would just see somebody with a judo background that's kind of like, I guess that is going to translate somehow.
Who came first, Parisian or Yoshida?
Oh. Now you could do this research. Why am I?
Yeah, I'll look it up. I'm just sitting here with my hands on my lap, making Zane look it up for me.
The Heat. He came in 1999, and who was the other one? No, he's whatever. He's muted, and he's looking it up.
Hidehiko Yoshida fought Don Fry in 2002.
So Parisian was first.
Parisian was the first big judo guy in MMA.
Unless and even his judo was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, and his career was cut pretty short by injuries and subsequent painkiller addictions.
Yeah.
There are so many more interesting things to talk about than this fight right now. It's only been 3.5 minutes. God knows how long these rounds are.
Yeah, it's the constantly moving round numbers.
First round is 6 minutes. Second round is 3 minutes if the judges consider it a draw, except if one of the judges has it a split draw. The third round will then be 12 minutes long with 19 water breaks. Big John McCarthy will take care of everything. Just leave it to him. Nobody ask him questions. Just let him stop the fight whenever.
That's right.
Also, how do they score fights at this point? Who scores fights?
I think they were at this point still scoring on a basis of like the whole. It was scored in different areas. You scored each area of the fight separately. So who did you scored the grappling in one way, and you scored the striking in one way, and you scored like cage control or something in another way. And then it was whoever got the most advantages in each area, in each of the different areas, won, kind of thing. If I remember, right. I talked to McCarthy about this not long ago, and he gave me kind of a rundown on their weird ass scoring at the time.
Get Mo Smith in that fresh fucking tracksuit. God damn, looking good, dude.
The one thing that judo people tend to bring with them, that was good, is rock solid takedown defense. So like,
Right, exactly. That's why I was like, didn't he just get
Kohsaka's-
flung to the ground with ease?
he didn't even do that. He just he looked like he sort of went for a counter double, but also just sort of fell over.
Well,
Yeah,
like I say,
it was like,
it's worth remembering that Kohsaka's lasting claim to fame in MMA is his guard game.
which we're enjoying right now.
Yeah, the classic TK guard.
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So, like I say, the classic lay on my back and occasionally get hit by stuff.
It's a real like self-defense oriented approach to fighting. If Kohsaka survives at the end, he considers it a moral victory. Still alive.
He walked out of the cage. Well, the guy still got my wallet, so you know, like
He didn't even think to check inside my cup. Another win for the TK guard.
oh man.
Boy, just nonstop half guard, lazy half guard lockdown. Chemo doesn't know what to do about it.
No.
What's Kohsaka's end game here? Like, what's he working towards?
This is
it.
He just likes this. He just enjoys
Is this
it.
just the equivalent of like a heavyweight like boxcar Homer strategy? Is he just like, I'm just gonna lock the other guy down until he's super tired, and that's gonna be it? Like,
Probably works against a dude like Chemo. Just like give him something to struggle against, and he will just foolishly struggle against it until he's dead.
You've seen him on top. He's just like leaning into the forearm across his neck and like,
yep.
You know, it's like if you ever had a dog that won't stay away from its food bowl when you're trying to pour food in it, so you have to like push the dog back while it just scrambles against your arm. That's kind of the Chemo top game. Is just.
He's also got like a third of an arm triangle going on at a couple of points. Like
an arm. What would that be? An arm. I guess it's just an arm line.
An arm line.
Yeah.
He's got an arm plane going on here. Oh, he's created a vertices. He's created the first vertex. The triangle is forming. Nope, it's gone.
I mean, I'm assuming Chemo is going to win this, but I'm not actually all that convinced. Just because if they stand up for some reason or another, I suspect that he's going to be. Oh, like Kohsaka's trying something. Has he figured out? He's like, that's his strategy. He's just absorb punishment and do nothing for like 8 minutes.
And look how glossy Chemo is. He's getting tired.
Getting that special kind of tired that only bodybuilders get, where they slowly start to turn red from the head down.
Yes, red and shiny.
Yeah, cyanosis as.
Holy shit! Kohsaka just rattled Chemo with a tiny jab.
It was an amazing rattling too. It was kind of like, like a little like jerky dance move in there.
To be honest, fucking look at Chemo. Like, he was probably just trying to focus everything he had on not bursting.
Keep all the juice inside.
He ate the Willy Wonka blueberry.
He did. That is exactly what has happened.
He ate the raspberry one.
He's slowly turning purpler and trying not to expand.
He looked like he was like he was embarrassed as he was hurt. He was like weirdly trying to walk it off.
Okay, so
moves like a baby just learning to walk.
Did Chemo faint there, or did he try and throw a punch and realize that he couldn't? I'm honestly not sure what it was, because it looked sort of like a feint, but also it was like it might have been just that he raised his fist and then realized.
Oh my God, Kohsaka's a fucking boxing legend. He's gonna win this
look
fight.
at him. He's just like, yeah. I mean, like,
that's
the thing.
Oh, Chemo just
it was a strategy. He's just now like he's
brilliant.
He's Max Holloway. He's just like this is Holloway Aldo all over again.
Every bit as brilliant as that. Yeah, look, Chemo is so tired. He's getting hurt by every single thing that hits him.
Oh, meanwhile, he stole one of Kohsaka's Power Rangers, and damn it if he's not going to get it back.
Oh, just compare the way their legs work. Like Kohsaka doesn't really have footwork, but look how he can move around on his feet.
He has feet.
Yeah.
Chemo has pegs.
Chemo's a Rob Liefeld drawing. Look at him. He needs a belt with some cartridges on it.
He moves the way baby hoofed mammals move, where they're trying to everything just kind of slides away from them as they put their feet down.
Chemo looks like a freshly foaled young colt.
A freshly foaled steroid chunk.
Like he is literally getting hurt by every single punch Kohsaka hits him with. He is reacting so badly. This is an amazing
and he's
fight.
Trying to psych himself into oh, I'm still in this. Yeah, okay,
yeah. You can see him trying to shake it off, and then realize that shaking it off is in fact incredibly tiring at this point.
Yeah. He can't brace for anything. It's like every shot that hits him is super clean. He has Pat Cummins disorder. And he also has no sense of his distance. Like you see him just reaching out. He doesn't know how to move his feet to close the range. Look at that. I mean,
he threw the kind of punch where you can see the exhale come out and the head turns down. It's like,
oh yeah. A sigh of a punch.
Why am I doing this?
Oh, Kohsaka's a fucking genius, dude. This is beautiful boxing. He's the best striker I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's an amazing Sun Tzu-esque strategy.
Meanwhile, Chemo's face is just looking smaller and smaller in his head. You notice that?
Shrinking into his head.
Now we've got our first round break after 20 minutes of fighting.
Has there ever been a single minute of a Chemo Leopoldo fight where the main thing driving him wasn't wounded pride? He's just
I'm sure he had a couple of
insecurity, doesn't he?
All coke.
Yeah. He just exudes a particularly male insecurity. Every single thing he does is that didn't look stupid, did it? Everything is about how badass he can look.
That's this wasn't just driven by coke and insecurity. He was also driven by Jesus. He had his He had his crucifix that he took to the ring.
This is where an overdose of faith gets you.
Yep. Also, when all of your conditioning is carrying a large cross to the ring.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's a problem. Maybe carry to the ring 2 or 3 times.
It's bench press and then running with the cross.
He bench presses the cross too. Every workout is done with the cross.
If Chemo hadn't gone for mount, I'm not sure if Kohsaka ever
wouldn't have just failed.
Yeah,
wouldn't have just stayed where he was.
Contentedly sat in a loose half guard and done nothing for. Yeah, I think you're right.
He is a this guy is a monster. Look at him. He's stuffing takedowns. He's hitting counter knees. He's pivoting off, pushing away.
He backs up. It's got to be so demoralizing for Chemo.
There is something here in watching Kohsaka. It's you watch Igor Vovchanchyn and you're like, oh, this is a worse version of some of the cool shit modern MMA fighters feel. I can see the ideas here. It just only works against a lesser level of competition.
Yeah.
Kohsaka's like that with a certain breed of modern MMA fighter, sprawling, hard knees on the brakes, pot shots from the outside. That's a pretty modern strategy. It's just that
everything that you don't sprawl and land a knee for.
Yeah. It's the strategy looks very relevant to modern MMA. It's just that it's barely working against Chemo.
Truly, he is the proto Carlos Condit.
Yes.
Oh Lord.
He's like a proto Gilbert Melendez the way he's fighting in this fight. It's just like if Gilbert Melendez was, kind of awful.
Look at the expression on his face. I'm sorry.
Look, somebody, please. Oh my God. Now look at Chemo's guard. There's nothing resembling any kind of posture control. Both feet on the ground.
This is why Kohsaka's guard was so famous at the time, is because everybody else's guard looked like Chemo's.
Yeah. Oh my god.
The fact that Kohsaka was like, wait, I'm actually like lock down my legs around your legs in a way that like holds you down kind of, or I might like roll for something if I get a chance, maybe.
Yeah. In fairness, closing a guard does require ankles.
Yes.
So Chemo is at a disadvantage there.
Yeah. And, flexible limbs in some kind of way. Just being a kind of, huge jelly baby is not.
He probably would have tore his groin if he tried to actually wrap his legs around Kohsaka.
This is as high as he can lift his knees on the ground.
Oh, man.
I'm still just blown away by how cunning that strategy was. Like, who the fuck gives away 8 minutes of the side of like half guard to a heavyweight,
and then starts beating the shit out of him? Like,
yeah,
seriously.
Just like, right, it's go time now.
Yeah, it was like he just flipped
phase shift, mix-ups, footwork, kicks, punches, knees from the clinch. Oh my! What the?
He didn't have time to get in the cage first. Someone spray him down. A bunch of steam just comes off Chemo's face.
I love that he like opened his mouth for that too.
He was waiting for it. Because this happens every time he does any physical activity for more than
him on the mat. They're just like throwing stuff at him. It could be anything in that bottle. You could throw anything at his face, and he would just like catch it.
Yeah,
they're just getting in there to like before he physically explodes. They realize they've only got like 5 to 10 minutes before.
Cool him down.
It's like a little valve. They like pull down his shorts on his hip, and there's like a little release valve, and he turns into Max Holloway afterward.
Oh god, boy, what a fight!
What a fight!
That's
strategic. Like,
it felt
technical.
Like both way longer than it was and way shorter. Because for so much of it, nothing was happening, and I just really wasn't paying attention. But the parts that were worth paying attention to were very worth it.
Oh god!
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen anyone who's like, because occasionally you do see the guy who's just like, yeah, I'm going to get taken down, but don't worry, it's going to tie you out, and then I'm going to fuck you up.
That is literally what every young MMA fighter, regional MMA fighter who doesn't know how to wrestle thinks. Like if you've talked to like all these guys who don't know how to wrestle but do a ton of jiu-jitsu and are just starting their MMA careers, they're all like, I may not be able to know how to stop takedowns, but you don't want to be in my guard. And then, the next fight is them eating like 50 elbows from guard, and it's just like not.
I mean, there are guard grapplers at heavyweight. There's Vadum and Nog, but I can't think of someone who was just like, I'm just gonna let you fuck me up. What about it?
Oh, Derek Lewis. That is his whole method.
I was thinking about that, but that's really like just the. He's a bit different because he's like nominally a striker, and then for some reason people are just like, oh, I got to grapple with this guy because he's striking so good and his chin's so amazing, and then they just getting tired out.
He's got one of those stylistic tricks where like everyone thinks they have to approach him a certain way, and that's how he wins.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone just insists on approaching him the same way because they think he wants to strike with him, which he would happily take that kind of fight. It's just he doesn't choose to get taken down. He just has no takedown defense.
All right, John Fitch versus Akihiro Gono.
Yeah, that was 25 minutes well spent. So let's.
Yeah, that was a good shout.
Let's depress ourselves.
I have a new admiration for Kohsaka.
All right. Starting Fitch versus Gono, UFC 94 in 3, 2, 1, go.
I always wonder if like how the algorithms for suggesting the next fight like works for these things. If they do it based on, is there some kind of machine learning thing behind this that says, if you like this guy, you'll like this guy, or is it just like how are they connected together?
That just makes me think of an AI program learning only from Dana White, which makes me also then think of like that thing in the scene in the IT crowd where they tell him his computer's voice activated, and he's just
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen the IT
I
crowd?
haven't seen the IT crowd.
You know what I'm talking about, right? At least.
Yeah.
Where they tell the boss's computer's voice activated.
Wait a minute.
There is a very good walkout happening right now.
Okay. What era of the UFC is this? And
it's an excellent era. Like,
look at this guy in the bleachers. He has he's looking at their asses. He just leaned over to look at their asses.
Man.
It's
nice so easy watching this to get excited about this sport again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like even bad fights, if you go far back enough, it's like, okay, this is really stupidly enjoyable.
Yeah, like.
So for those listening to the audio, Gono and two other people have of his presumably MMA friends have come out wearing sparkly ball gowns and are doing a dance number. And they're
doing a disco dance number. One of them has a huge afro, and they all have huge sunglasses, and they all have wigs on.
Yeah. Bizarrely confused. They have they're doing a fly girl routine, but it looks like they're wearing sequined flapper dresses.
Yeah. Gono is not the one with the afro.
No. I love the idea of Joe Silva having to watch this and his little troll brain just seething with rage. This is exactly the kind of stuff that drove Dana White to be and them all to be like, Reebok. We want Reebok. We need it.
We don't want people to think we're gay by association.
Yeah.
Not even homophobia, just it's weird. This is too weird.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to have UFC isn't about weird stuff. It's about looking the same all times.
Yeah, it's not about weird stuff. It's about fucking blood sport. That's the dumbest double standard on earth. The notion that MMA can be whitewashed and acceptable.
He was wearing his underwear all the way out that he had to actually put his fight shorts back on after taking off the dress.
He doesn't want trunk lines, Zane.
That's true. Good on him for
he's a man with his priorities in order. I just love his cornermen looking just very normal, standing behind him, patiently waiting with their silly sunglasses on and their gigantic arms popping out of the dresses. This is great. Why don't we have more stuff like this? The UFC is fun, right?
Who are they? Those guys look familiar. I can't tell.
I'm trying to place them too. I'm sure they're people.
Marilyn Monroe? I don't know. Hard to say. Take the glasses off.
I am sure they're fighters that we know, and especially the one in the afro.
Yeah. It's not it's not fucking pseudo or something, is it? That would be retarded. That would be stupid. Or maybe Katsunori Kikono? I don't know. It's gonna annoy me. I'm gonna have to find.
Yeah, I don't know. One of them might be Genki. I mean, it would be a very Genki pseudo thing to do.
I don't know whether that's why I'm thinking it. Meanwhile, we have
Fitch,
another representative of a very this is a very UFC.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This was the core brand UFC wanted at the time.
Well, not actually.
Apart from
all of John Fitch's.
This is the look they wanted. They want fighters that they can describe as blue collar and hardworking, and they just would rather them, be violent monsters instead of John Fitch.
Yeah, they want they want Fitch's look and nothing else about him.
Yes,
which is why they wanted his image rights and not him.
So John Fitch is, to me, somewhat unfairly maligned in that most of his fights, the only thing I want in fights is for people to try and win. Don't try and not lose, try and win. And if you're not winning, try and win hard. Like that's all I want. And that like John Fitch always did that. He would try and win, and like if that involved just sitting on someone and tapping away at them a lot, like he would do that, and you would lose worse and worse as the fight went on. But if he was getting fucked up, he really tried hard to win. He would really like throw himself into the fight to try and get back into it. But you know, GSP and such like.
Fitch is right there with the same kind of thing for me with Darren Elkins and, you know, before he went off the deep end a bit, Nick Lentz, of guys that people are like, oh, I hate this boring grinder. And it's like, this dude is always, these fighters are always working to win fights. Like,
yeah, I think you're right, Phil. Like, it doesn't always make for a on the surface enjoyable fight, but like, effort is a key ingredient. Like, just having a driven fighter in the cage is like automatically compelling to me.
Like watching Rashad Evans lately, that is exactly the antithesis of what I ever want to see going on in fights.
Which is why I'm not still rooting for Rashad Evans at middleweight. I am always rooting for Dan Kelly because the dude is always trying to win.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like
that. That said, this fight is going to suck.
Oh, like, God, yeah.
Because we specifically looked it up to suck. And this is not going to be one of those John Fitch performances where he's like, because like that's the thing, you have to bring good fights. You can bring good fights out of Fitch, but you have to bring them out of him.
Phil. Sorry, Phil. First round on the ground. Sorry, Phil. I'll let you finish. First round's about to go. I say that. I don't know. I have to get in soon. Okay, here we go. It started. I had to interrupt myself that time. Okay. All right, Phil, go on.
No, that was pretty much it. Like,
he's done.
I think that I think what we're going to get is Gono trying to be active from the bottom and being just active enough that Fitch is just going to shift positions and never do anything.
Totally shocked that Fitch just tried to take him down, which is always a bad start early out of the gate. You don't want to be surprised that John Fitch went for the takedown.
Yeah, some nice head position. Chain wrestling, switching to the double.
The other thing that was always interesting that like only really got exposed in the GSP fight was like, I think about Fitch's game is that everyone tended to think of like wrestling as just being like wrestling and you're good at it or you're bad at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think GSP exposed it, and then like a couple of other people like Penn and then Maya, like they're like, John Fitch isn't good at wrestling. He's good at a specific type of offensive wrestling. His takedown defense is terrible.
Yeah,
but he's just slow and uncoordinated.
John Fitch's wrestling is a lot like Damian Maya's. I think it's like it's just about entangling you and forcing you to adjust to him hanging on you so that he can adjust to your adjustment and eventually get you down. Just this exhausting, relentless style of it's all about the chain wrestling. It's all about putting the attempts together one after the other. It's like a pressure fighter.
Yeah.
You know, he hit knees in the clinch and he's plowing forward and
not a bad fight so far.
Yeah.
We'll see. Only 2 minutes elapsed.
It's basically been Gono totally on the defensive for all of it, but Fitch is doing his part.
We haven't seen the first Fitch takedown, so we don't know how the fight's really going to look.
This is also everyone in the UFC, like everyone in America has learned how to cut weight, and the Japanese fighters have all decided against it era. So you get like completely absurd fights like T-Bow versus whoever it was, Carl Uno.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, these guys are like 4 weight classes apart.
Nice little right hook to take down from Fitch. I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's always had like a ton of different things he can do, which I've always liked about him. He's just always like a very sneaky fighter.
Yeah, it's all about like the pressure with having lots of options to play off of your pressure.
Yeah, but like, the problem is that Gono is just active enough that Fitch can't really get significant control on him, but also just too small. Yeah.
And this is your classic Fitch position, which is the back ride with like maybe one hook in and just a lot of control.
Mm-hmm. I like the way he uses it though. He gets that seatbelt and like he'll sit back, so it's kind of just pulling you off balance. It's like there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah, it was a nice transition to the back.
Mm-hmm.
Got a weird kind of half.
Yeah, what do they call this? This is very popular in grappling now. This is like a way that a lot of fighters take the back because it kind of immobilizes your hips. Is there a name for this? Any grapplers watching? No? Is there a name for the single hook crossed ankles behind the butt position?
We have one person in our active chat who is the only person there, and he says he likes Fitch, and that's about it. So.
All right, you go, buddy. I'm glad to have you.
They're also probably like 30 seconds behind us, technically for live. But
all right, so in 15 seconds, somebody tell me what that move's called. It's like the same position that you would. It's like the first half of a twister, where you lock down the far hip. Yeah, this is all right so far. I mean, this is.
I mean, this is turning into what we think of as our stereotypical pitching.
Yeah.
Like it was fun when he was forced to kickbox a little, and he was doing some aggressive kickboxing going into his wrestling game. And now,
I mean, he's in like a really dominant position though. What I think of a stereotypical pitching as like being in half guard and just going like doing the chail.
He was very much a back take specialist. Like he was always working to be on your back.
Yeah,
it was.
I mean, he's had some. Because this is the thing though, because Prime Fitch is actually the weird thing is that like people now have a bit more. Well, people have a bit more like respect for Fitch, how he fought back in the day. But like I saw one of his more recent fights in like WSOF, and it was terrible. It was everything that people said Fitch used to be. He just sat in position and didn't do anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's gotten more fragile and he's gotten older, and
now you replace. Like what you do is the process of becoming an MMA hipster is first you learn to appreciate what John Fitch does, and then you learn to appreciate what he's doing in the absence of the things he actually does well. So,
Holman, that's who it was. It was Holman in WSOF.
I saw that one too.
And I was like, yeah, because I was like, yeah, actually, no, I generally enjoy watching Fitch work. And I was like, was I wrong?
It was like 5 insufferable minutes, that fight.
Yeah.
There's Kid Yamamoto saying, hey, in 5 years, I'm going to be sitting on the bench, not fighting here.
Yeah. And hey, in 10 years, I will be reincarnated as Kyoji Horiguchi, and it'll be great.
And then immediately released from the UFC to go make more money in Japan.
Yeah, good for him. Good for Kyoji. Bad for us, unfortunately.
Yep.
So yeah, what's Gono's idea here?
I don't know. I think it was probably to try and grapple and be on top would be my guess. Because it doesn't seem like he wants to kickbox at all.
Yeah, he rushed into that clinch.
Yeah,
nice
but he doesn't want to give up the takedown, so he doesn't want to be on his back. So it must be that he wants to. I mean, that's the thing you see with a lot of Japanese fighters. It's better now, but it's still very much this way. Is that whole like,
let's just fight.
Super disconnected, super slow paced. Like my whole goal is just to like engage you in a physically somehow in a way that is like we're just gonna take turns, and I'm gonna look very carefully for opportunities, and every now and then I'm gonna land something really cool that'll be like perfect. And then the rest of the time, I'm just going to kind of, like, we're just going to work at that pace. And we're each going to try to find the best perfect moment to land a shot or whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's basically, it's one of these things where they just say, so how would you like to have this? How would you like to fight this?
Yeah.
And then they're like, and the other person goes, I would like this to be a kickboxing match. And they're like, a kickboxing match it is. Kind of shake on it and then...
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so I'm going to wait, and I'm going to try to hit the counter right hook, and you should go with the jab and the low kick in the meantime, and we'll work on that for a while, and then we'll maybe change tactics. And you get some like really great skilled specialists out of that, but you also get a lot of guys who go to the UFC, and then it's just like, wait, why are you just trying to run into me and like beat me up? That's not how this works.
It's a very different like sporting culture. It's like over here, it's very much like everything has to be fair because anyone will try to get any advantage they can by any means necessary. And so it's like it has to be fair because nobody can have a leg up. In Japan, it's like they still have fights with like gis and shoes because it's like, if that's how you want to fight it, then we'll work something out. We'll find a way for you to fight with that thing that you like to wear or this style you like to use. It's a lot more equitable, not necessarily better to watch.
No,
just saying.
There are benefits and downsides to a lot of it. The downside on the UFC side is that, man, did they homogenize the shit out of what the UFC became.
No doubt. Yeah, I will stick with Japanese MMA for the production, but for the actual excitement and fights, I will probably have to say Japanese boxing wins out. Fitch landed some decisive elbows here.
So,
Nothing landing particularly clean, but some force on there.
Okay, so here's your half guard.
Yeah.
Of just half guard retention. Classic.
But like spoiler warning, the fight we're going to see later is going to be a classic example of what I really don't like. At least John Fitch is absolutely 100%. He is winning this fight. There is no question. That's all I care about, really. Well, that's not all I care about, but like, you know, I can never criticize anyone who's just like totally winning a fight. If you're totally winning a fight, you can just keep totally winning the fight. He's winning every single second of this fight, pretty much.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I really. Few things bug me more than fans who just are like hypercritical of fighters who have found really good, consistent, strong ways to win rounds.
Yeah. There's a lot of forgiveness in my heart for stylistic differences. Between fighters. I don't get upset at styles all that often. I think Phil's right. Like it's really effort is a lot more critical. If it's just clear that you're not trying, that's what's going to frustrate me. If there's no structure, and people know I love my process and my structure. If there's no process, if there's no like, this is how I'm going to win the fight, and I'm attacking this idea from these angles, then I'm not interested.
Holy shit! He went for an armbar.
For an armbar. Nice.
Yeah. Like, how could I can't hate? You know what's to hate there? He even's trying to finish the fight. Given an opportunity where it's safe to pull off a submission, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, so the worst thing is when someone like might be losing the fight and they might be winning the fight and they don't do anything to change it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get
the worst thing is easily the Marina Moroz, Danielle Taylor kind of fight where it's just like you're not even close to in this fight. And neither of you are close to in this fight, and neither of you are doing anything to try to change that at all.
Classic sparring match.
Yeah. It is really hard to tell, though, what Gono's plan was in this fight. I honestly think it was probably top control.
Yeah. It's interesting that, like, the grappler trifecta of welterweight all ended up beating each other, right?
True.
So
Maya beat Fitch. Fitch beat Shields.
And Shields beat Maya.
Shields beat Maya. Yeah.
Did you just notice, though, Gono's corner, they're still wearing the dresses. They just have big, oversized brand T-shirt, like T-shirts with all the stuff stamped on them over them.
Dresses on under the shirt. I love that.
They had to wear those dresses for the entire fight ringside.
Gono landed a big right hand because Fitch was putting a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah.
And now he's down.
And that's exactly like the Japanese fighting thing. It's like he could be really dangerous, but it's going to be like this one specific moment where he's going to be able to do one thing. Like, oh, wow, that was really cool. Oh, you're not going to do that. Can't be done again, can it?
Yep. There are skills, but there's no plan.
And yeah, now he's in half guard getting pummeled again.
I always thought Fitch was pretty underrated, always underrated at working the body as well. He even managed to like land some pretty good body shots on GSP. But yeah, this is just going to be. I don't think that. Well, we're not going to see anything. Oh, maybe we are.
And he's about to go back down, but he got out.
Yeah, I mean, what weight class do you think Gono would be in nowadays? Like he'd be a big featherweight, but
he would be somewhere stuck between featherweight and lightweight.
Yeah, he'd be a huge featherweight. But, yeah, but he would definitely not be a welterweight. I mean, even Fitch isn't like. This was another thing, is that like people thought Fitch was like a really big welterweight back in the day.
Yeah, he would be between. He's between light and welter.
Yeah.
So.
I wish it was still like this.
It could. I mean, the bigger story here is just kind of more than size and strength. It's just that Gono doesn't really have the like raw physicality to match up.
Yeah.
And like the style to match up with somebody who wants to impress this kind of game on him.
Yeah.
Love the rear waist cinch from John Fitch, man. He gets to that position constantly, hits the double, and then circles around really smoothly.
Which makes up for his own lack of athleticism. That's a I am not the best athlete in the world style of wrestling, where you're going in on the double, and instead of wasting all your energy trying to pull this other guy's legs out or trying to blast through it, you just move around, take the back, and pull him down.
Clinch takedowns and body lock wrestling still, I think, very underused.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the kind of stuff that takes actual wrestling skill, like deeper skill and practice, more than just like, here's an entry for a blast double, and, you know.
True. Yeah, if you're just like an athlete who has never wrestled before, you can hit a blast double if you have timing and a sense of range. But still, you know, like being able to get a rear waist cinch position on somebody and chain takedown attempts and off balance them and protect yourself at the same time, like all of Fitch's wrestling and grappling is like putting himself in positions where the other guy can't hurt him.
Yeah, I mean, it went through some. You know, they've been through some different grappling coaches, and I'm not sure if they were really ever contemporaneous, but you know, you can see similarities and like some Khabib stuff in what Fitch does as well. You know, the rear waist cinch. You saw that like that brief moment where he had knee on belly and like the rake choke where he had the hand on his neck and was punching him. Like you know, like, oh yeah, I've seen that recently.
He had some wrist control from top half guard before him, was landing shots. Like, man, imagine if he was putting like heat on these the way Khabib does.
Well, that's kind of the terrifying thing about Khabib in comparison, is that unlike Fitch, he is the absolute cream of elite athletes.
Yeah.
So you have somebody who is way stronger and way faster than your average fighter.
Imagine if it was GSP.
Yes.
Like,
also has a deep technical wrestling toolkit of like, you know, really, really deep skilled wrestling maneuvers, which is why he gets in on somebody and it's just like, you're going to get taken down, because even if you're a pretty good wrestler, he's probably a better athlete than you. And if you're just an okay wrestler, he's going to be an infinitely better wrestler than you.
Yeah. So again, we see like Fitch lost a bit of the round and immediately just stormed back and made sure there was absolutely zero chance that he was going to lose the rest of it. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Good job, John Fitch. You did the goddamn best with what you had. And that's all I'm ever going to ask. Jump knee to the chest. Again, one of Zayn's like brief moments of disconnected dynamic of offense that like you're never going to be able to chain together because they just exist in just islands of nothing.
Yep. That's the thing with you watch all the Japanese MMA and you're like, some of this stuff is so cool. I just want to see these people go and do this in the US, and then you see them in the US and it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, why doesn't any of it work? It's so much of it is about pacing, and it's just a very different pace that a lot of Japanese MMA goes after.
That's why, I mean, I guess you could definitely say that the counter to that trend was like Kid Yamamoto and Kyoji Horiguchi. Like Yamamoto was a dynamo.
Yeah.
About
they're the fighters who have managed to break that mold have a lot of success because there's a lot of skill and a lot of a lot of good technique there to be had.
Where I think Gomi was probably the best example of someone who would like go out with a specific approach for breaking down his opponent. He would go out there and he'd be like, okay, I'm gonna stop these takedowns, I'm gonna work the body, I'm gonna land them. He had a consistent like, here's point A and here's how I win, and he would walk along it until
Yamamoto was like the same lack of game plan and focus, but just with plus the pace, up the pace and have the same wild, reckless style.
All right.
Well, that wasn't the end of the world. This has been tolerable so far.
Yeah.
All right. Nunes, Shevchenko.
All right.
Going in. You sucker. All right. Starting in 3.
Oh, hold on. One sec. Sorry.
Okay.
I opened the video and it was like 19 minutes in. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
It sucks.
Okay, my video started just like at the tail of the tape. Is that when your guys started as well?
Yeah, pretty
actually,
much.
mine didn't start.
Oh, we were restarting?
And it froze.
All right,
okay, let's restart.
Okay. Yeah, because otherwise mine did as well.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I noticed on Fight Pass now they started cutting down the videos. They don't have the long intros anymore.
Yeah. All right. 3, restart everyone. So if you're watching at home, whatever, we've restarted now.
Yeah.
This is the official actual start. We will do it right. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. There we go. Fucking thing.
Okay. Here we go. I think is it a little unfair that I guess this is where my forgiveness of stylistic tendencies does become somewhat unfair, because I feel about this fight that, like, Valentina Shevchenko, she's going to fight a slow-paced fight. Amanda Nunes chose to fight a slow-paced fight. Is that fair or is that unfair?
No, this fight sucks. Neither of them deserve to win. Like,
I'm just saying, in like Woodley Thompson, I think there's also a difference there where it's like, this is the way Woodley fights, and Stephen Thompson did a bad job of approaching it. So in this case, like, Shevchenko is the problem to solve. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm just like, okay, because I know what to expect from her. I'm like, I'm going to see something that's not necessarily.
Nunes won the last time, so she's the problem to solve. Like, Shevchenko.
Well, it's just like Woodley Thompson. Like, these are both razor close matchups.
So, like, the issue with this one is that, like, no one attacks the other one's strengths at all, because like, they don't attack the way that they can win. This is Nunes's issue is that she just can't throw more than a certain number of strikes, and Shevchenko did nothing to make her throw more than a certain number of strikes. It's just this terrible fight between, like, where the person whose big advantage was, like, their pace and toughness threw less strikes, and the person whose big advantage was their ridiculous power and finishing capability did less damage.
Yeah.
I hate this fight so much.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And Shevchenko too, like, her situation. Yeah, it's like she'd have to accidentally win, basically.
Yeah.
Approaching the fight, because it's like the only way that Nunes is going to gas is if Nunes hurts Shevchenko and then loses control and tries to finish her, because otherwise Valentino doesn't really have any ways, as you said, to make Nunes fight that way, other than just to accidentally get hurt. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Phil is so fucking frustrated already.
Fights like this and the Woodley Thompson one
Wonder Boy.
really bugged me. The Woodley Thompson one bugs me more than anything because it's such a sort of revelation on human nature and on like the limits of human possibility. Because we want to always be like, oh, everybody can do like the possibilities are limitless. If you apply yourself and if you go do this or that, you can go and you can learn anything, you can become anything, you can do anything you want. And the reality is fucking no, you've been doing this. This is all you know how to do, and that's what you're going to do. Push comes to shove, when you actually have to perform, you're going to fall back on all the shit that you know how to do. So, like we saw in Woodley Thompson, it's like, oh, maybe they're going to find solutions to each other. Maybe they're going to figure out what the gaps that each of them can exploit in the fight are, and they're going to work and they're going to build strategies around that. Or they just fought that fight because that's how they fight every fight, and that's exactly what they fell back on the second time they fought.
Yeah. Okay,
All
first
right,
round's
Connor.
about to begin here. Round 1 starts. Right. Boy,
Wait
they
for
love
it.
doing this. The teasing bastard starts right now. All right. Yeah, I know this is my second UFC subtitle joke of the episode today, but I was just thinking that they should have called the rematch between Woodley and Thompson UFC Comfort Zone.
Yeah.
Neither man stretching himself at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was I going to say?
This is very much that same kind of fight for me, where it's just like, you think, they both fought each other before, so it's like, okay, well, they know they've seen their tendencies, they know what to exploit and all that. And it's like, nope, they're just going to show up and fight the way that, Nunes, her whole focus was obviously nothing to do with Shevchenko and everything to do with fixing her own gas tank issues.
Yeah, this is like if McGregor Diaz 2 sucked ass. It's like, because in that fight, both guys were trying their asses off constantly to win. And that really is the missing ingredient here, is that, yeah, Nunes came in trying to correct herself. Shevchenko came in trying to do the exact same thing as last time. And neither of those allowed for them to try to win.
Yeah, I mean, I probably hate Woodley Thompson 2 more because it's,
it's such a mirror.
It's the second 25 minutes of a terrible 50-minute fight. And because welterweight is supposed to be good, I'll give credit. I'll give like more leeway to this fight because women's bantamweight is kind of supposed to be bad.
Yeah.
Like, no one expects these people to be particularly skilled, and so to see people as like, and also because this is very different from the first fight. Yeah. It's not. Yeah.
Phil means women when he says these people, by the way. I just want to make that clear. No one expects these people to do anything impressive.
I'm just going to leave that one there.
Welcome to the misogynistic.
Yeah.
The white male hate on everything podcast with me, Zane Simon, and my co-hosts Connor and Phil.
Our new podcast, Misogynist Martial Arts. We just call it MMA to sneak it under. No one will know what it's about.
The MMA oppressed us.
Nice. That's good. That's good. How about this for an MMA promotion? Culture War.
Oh, God. If this makes my blood pressure rise anymore, maybe I can turn nice and beet red, and then I'll start screaming into the mic, and suddenly we'll just transfer into InfoWars, the MMA podcast version.
Oh man, I just realized how much Alex Jones looks like
chemo.
Just a decayed version of any one of those early UFC guys. Like,
Alex Jones is a desiccated chemo Leopoldo. God, that's good.
Yeah. Whereas they're like they're kind of like the bulging grape of just.
I don't know what you guys are going on.
He's becoming slightly more of the raisin.
Don't you remember his whole "this is what the ideal male form looks like"? And it was just a picture of Alex Jones shirtless and hairy and sweaty.
Yep.
Yeah.
I touched on some old man insecurities regarding that once because I remember doing the Sherdog Roundtable, and when I said that Alex Jones, when I was just laughing at his physique, which like I'm like a fat sloppy piece of shit, so it's fine. I'm allowed to do that. They're like, he looks pretty good for his age. They both got very defensive about Alex Jones and his physique, which I found to be a strange hill to die on.
He's keeping himself in shape for when the lizard men eventually come to overrun, the good, hardworking people of America.
He is keeping himself in shape.
For a guy who thinks of gravy as like sports fuel.
Yeah. It's got a lot of electrolytes in it.
I mean, when I said shape, I meant, a purple football, but...
Exactly. He's keeping himself in shape. It's just the same shape he's always been.
It's the same shape as like those British landed gentry who are like hyper militaristic that they mock in things like Jeeves and Wooster, and who's just it's that kind of...
he needs to have the tweed coat and the walking stick.
Yeah.
Boy, imagine Alex Jones.
Stereotype of a British lord who dies at 50 because his heart exploded.
Hey, cheerio, old chap. It's me. Lord Fauntleroy. That's Alex Jones as a British lord impression. So the first round went by. It's gone already. We're 20% of the way through this thing. I'm
going to give that round to Amanda Nunes. She landed a right hand.
At some point, Shevchenko fell down too. So I think she slipped, but...
I mean, it is frustrating. It's almost like now watching that, I have to give a little more credit to Nunes because it's like Shevchenko is supposed to be a counterpuncher.
Well, anytime you've got a champion who's not getting their belt taken from them, all the credit goes against their opponent.
Yeah.
Like all the hate has to go against their opponents. Just like, Shevchenko, Nunes, all of her livelihood as a fighter is wrapped up in keeping that belt.
Yeah.
And for Shevchenko, it's just like, you want to win the title, you should actually probably go out and try to win it, know?
It also really annoys me how, like, both her and Wonderboy have been, like, pretty vocal about wanting, like, third shots against...
Yeah.
Like, it's just people, like, you lost both... Well, sorry, one of them was a draw with Woodley, but, like, you lost the last one, and you made minimal effort to not lose it. Like,
yeah.
I mean, minimal effort to win it. They made a lot of effort to not lose it, but how can you expect people... And the fight was terrible. People don't want to see it again.
Nobody wants to see it. And if Wonderboy never got a title shot again, every time he complains, my feeling is always, if you want to be champion so bad, you should have won the fights you had.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm never comfortable like feeling like I'm talking down to fighters or like not treating them as actual individuals, but it's pretty simple. Like if you have a fight like that, it's clear like you could have done something different. You know, especially when you already had the same fight once before. Know the areas in which you have to change.
I don't mean, I'm not saying this is like talking down. It's just, this is a competitive, like it's a sport. It's a competitive sport based on winning and losing. And if you don't show up and win, then it's hard to feel really sympathetic that you're not getting more chances to go out and win.
There's a little more happening here. Shevchenko's through a combination encounter before.
Just kind of clawed her face too. Or Nunes kind of clawed her face.
Well, she's the lioness.
Glancing Superman punch from Shevchenko.
That's the thing, is that it's technically in moments, neither woman is a bad fighter. They're both very good technical fighters. It's just, it's the lowest possible simmer of a very technical fight. And it's like, and I mean, that makes it the exact same as the, Woodley Wonderboy thing, where it's just like, yes, you both clearly, when you pull the trigger, you do things that are very good, but it's just, it doesn't happen in any kind of way that, like, even if you're like, oh, that was a good moment, then it stops immediately.
Yeah. Nunes is basically waiting for the moments when she's because Shevchenko just sits there backed into the fence, meaning that Nunes is just gradually walking around looking for one point where she can throw a jab or a snap kick, and she is absolutely certain it's not going to get countered because she's so much taller and longer. She's just like, where is the point in my range where I am not going to get anything coming back at me? And like Shevchenko, to her credit, will start to make some kind of adaptation in that she'll start actually blitzing after Nunes at some point and kicking her in the leg as she tries to retreat. But like, how much has she given up before then of just being like stuck in the fence, just eating the occasional snap kick or jab?
Yeah, and all talk of being forgiving for stylistic limitations kind of goes out the window when it's like when Shevchenko's not really doing any of the things with her style that she should be. Like, where are the feints?
Yeah,
you know what I mean, where are any feints? You're a counterpuncher. Why are you not feinting? Why are you not giving the other person something they have to respond to?
Yeah,
so you can counter their response.
Yeah, it's just the thing. Like this was sort of the issue with Rashad Jones back in the day, is that you cannot just sit there against someone with a huge reach advantage. Like, you can't just literally, no matter how good you think you are at counterpunching, you can't just stand utterly static and let them pick you off, because there are places they can stand where you can't hit them. It's just physics. They're like, so, and she just spends so much of the fight doing that.
Yeah.
You guys have a minute left in this round. Mine might have jumped around.
Okay. I'm at 1 minute right now. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it was actually just a jarring camera change, and I thought it skipped.
Oh.
One of those really like cut on movement, and I couldn't tell what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, technically, it's one of the most technical striking matches we've seen in like, in terms of
history.
Yeah, if you were like, these two would probably, would carve up pretty much anyone else we've seen, apart from like
Shevchenko
maybe
versus Montano is going to be a fucking bloodletting. We all know.
Oh yeah, that's going to be an absolute slaughter. Like, I mean, we saw what Nunes did to Tate or to Rousey, or I mean, I'm kind of interested to see what Pennington can do. I think
Pennington's a lot more aggressive. Pennington doesn't know how to check herself the way that Shevchenko does. So she's definitely going to try and press Nunes, and that means that if you press her, that Nunes has a chance of gassing out.
Yeah, and she's not as skilled.
No.
As probably either one of them, but she
may be much more durable than both Rousey and Tate.
Yeah. So that's the thing. You can look at this fight and you can be like, you two could fight this fight against anyone else in the division, and they would have terrible problems with it. Yeah. But against each other, it's just not doing it. Like, nothing's happening.
It takes two to refuse to tango.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, they could fight exactly the same fight just against somebody willing to try something else against it, and it would be entertaining.
Yeah. No, I think Nunes Pennington will be entertaining. I think Montano Shevchenko will be entertaining, because I don't think either Montano or Nunes or Pennington can fight functionally going backwards.
I mean, I don't know if Shevchenko Montano is going to be entertaining, and in a sort of, it's going to be in a kind of like.
I mean, I found Shevchenko Cachoeira entertaining. I mean, I'm just
a
sick
fuck.
Like, I feel bad about it. Don't get me wrong. I feel bad about it, but that is half of what I'm showing up for in any combat sports scenario. People who are like, "Oh, the violence, I can't take it. Why are we?" It's like, you don't have to watch this. There are other art. You can watch rhythmic gymnastics if you just want to see people like move funny.
It was after like 20, 30 seconds. I was just like, okay, I think we're done here. Then it just became The Simpsons. It just became The Simpsons. Stop, he's already dead.
Yeah.
Stop. Yeah, the other half of what Zayn shows up for is the meat. Because if you stick around after the fight, you get some of, what's left from the bloodletting.
Well, hey, I got a lot of rituals to do,
Exactly. And it's not your concern, or Priscilla Cachoeira. If a life is lost, it's it's part of the sport.
The ritual works better if it's the more pain involved.
Yeah, the more. the more. So how about this fight? Would the old gods be displeased?
I fucking hope so.
Yeah.
The old gods caused this to happen. This is their reckoning.
This is exactly the kind of thing that in Cabin in the Woods gets everybody destroyed.
What if Cabin in the Woods started with 25 minutes of boring kickboxing? And that's what they're being punished for.
That's right.
Yeah, and just imagine like Great Cthulhu rising out of Rilya or whatever it is, and they saw in runic letters on his tentacle chest, "Just bleed," as he screamed and wooed loudly.
Oh God.
Just bleed non-Euclidean blood.
Yeah.
It screams, and a voice filled with eldritch anger and terror across the generations says, and
There's a
indeed.
stinging jab from Nunes in there before. Shevchenko seems like she kind of like runs out of ideas in this fight. It's like she just tries to counter with the same shot over and over again.
I mean, this is.
I'm pretty like I remember she does. As far as I remember, she does like start going like feint punch leg kick, like, and that's pretty much it. That's all she does. And
there was a combo at least.
There was a reason in the Cachoeira fight when people were like, "Oh, she's gonna knock Cachoeira out in a minute," and all that, and I was like, I bet Shevchenko is gonna take her down and then beat her up on the ground and submit her, probably. Because the truth is that in MMA, she's just not a very happy, prolonged kickboxer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't like to draw on all that many tools. And so what she'd much rather do is just run in, grab you, throw you to the mat, and be on top. And we've seen her try that in this fight a couple of times, where she'll like throw a couple punches, and then she'll reach for Amanda Nunes' neck for like a collar tie to try to clinch up with her, and Nunes just shoves her off.
Yeah, so we've seen like in their first fight, that was illustrated when she had, Nunes kind of dead to right in the last round, and she was like, I'm gonna pot shot, and you're gonna come back with a counter, I'm gonna get you. And then Nunes was like, I'm not countering, I'm fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
She was like, pot shot. Like, what she needed to do was just go ham and just bull rush her.
Literally, do what Seo Hee Han would do.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's been proven to work on multiple occasions on Amanda Nunes in the past. Like, there's a clear like point where it's the boss fight, and then the chest has opened up, and the big flashing red thing is, and it's time to go for the finishing sequence. Like, it's not like
Shevchenko's, meanwhile, she's just back there doing the same thing that worked in like the second round of the boss fight when you had to hit that one specific combo train over and over again.
She's still trying to throw an exploding barrel in Amanda Nunes' mouth.
Exactly, and if you keep doing that long enough, the chest closes again, and the health bar goes all the way back up to full. I mean, come on, this is basic Sega Genesis level stuff.
Yeah. Oh, there was a good counter from Shevchenko. Quick left hand. It's like she can have these bursts of speed. You're like, oh shit.
Like, she's very comfortable throwing one really hard shot. It's just that when she has to actually chain everything together, she just would rather not.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get the impression that, like, as in her grappling, like, MMA, you would think would be a chance for her to, like, open up her striking skills, but it's not.
Yeah.
And so you get the idea that she's a counter striker, not because she's like particularly cut out for counter punching and she feels herself really comfortable defending and reacting, but because it's like the most risk averse way of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
It's that you never have to lead, you never have to take the fight to your opponent. You just let them do the work and try to comfortably but closely win.
Yeah.
So
it's still going to be enough for her to pulp Montano, but it is.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing with, it's the same thing we talk about with Holly Holm so much, and people are like, oh, her counters against Chris Cyborg, that'll be a difference maker. It's like, have you watched a Holly Holm fight in MMA? Other than Ronda Rousey, one that was not Holm Rousey, because That's just
Also-
not how Holly Holm's style works. She's not going to change it up for one fight, you know?
Also, does anyone have any scores for this fight at the moment?
Oh no.
No.
I'm sort of trying to do it, but I'm just really struggling. Like nothing's happening.
It's a genuinely close fight in the worst way possible because very little decisive happens.
When it's the kind of fight that it's like when nobody's getting hurt and nobody, like nothing is even registering as like a harder, more damaging strike. Nobody's getting knocked down or anything like that. You basically just have to score off volume totals. And that's that's all you have.
It's not even just that no one's getting hurt, it's that no one's even landing particularly cleanly.
Yeah.
Even the counters that are getting there are kind of like, And then there's no follow-up, and the person who gets countered doesn't follow up either. And so it never leads to an exchange where anyone can make a mistake big enough that they actually get caught clean.
I'm starting to hate Amanda Nunes' shaky back leg. Like the faint twitch she does now. I'm starting to hate it. Because all I know it's going to lead to is just another snapping front kick that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I was watching her feet there. Did she land that hop step right hand? Because if she did, it was nice. She had nice back,
I think she landed both those shots. That was probably one of her better. Like you could see Shevchenko sort of licking her. She licked her lips afterwards and was like, didn't look happy. But yeah, so like Shevchenko's realized she's not going to win punch countering. I think this is when she starts to go more to the legs. But the other best thing is that I remember about this terrible fight is that it is a completely like no risks taken, incredibly dull fight, which then gets blown in the most common, like in the most classic way.
Yeah.
And let's just wait for that.
True. There's an argument that it was like dead even after 4 rounds, which fuck if I care. It might as well be dead even.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, sure, give Shevchenko 2 rounds. Why not? Whatever. Doesn't matter.
So you mean like there was a nicely timed counter left hand from Shevchenko, but didn't land that clean. It kind of slid Nunes' head back, and
I mean, it's just basically like how much do you value Nunes's constant snap kicks to the body? How much do you value Shevchenko's leg kicks? I don't know.
There was a good knee from Valentina.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. She's a really good clinch fighter.
Right.
And Nunes is not a clinch fighter. Nunes doesn't really fight in the clinch at all. She's, like we've compared her to Jose Aldo before. That's who she's the most like. She stiff arms and pushes out. She never throws offense in the clinch.
Yeah. Nunes is similar in a lot of ways to like Conor McGregor, where like she can give you the impression that she's a back foot fighter with these like singular moves that if you come in reckless and she times it, she'll hit this nice angling right hand or whatever, but she's also not comfortable fighting off the back foot. You know what I mean? Like if you really make her fight a backwards moving fight, she's not going to like it. And it's like Shevchenko has the technical capability to do that. Even just in bursts, like land that shot and then push forward, and Nunes will get tired so quickly. But
even McGregor throws. Even McGregor throws in the clinch. He'll throw strikes. But like there are fighters like Nunes and Aldo that will just have you ever actually seen either one of them throw strikes? Because I remember like reading like an analyst like who was looking at who genuinely seems to not like women's fights, who was looking at like Nunes against Rousey, and he was like, Nunes rushes into the clinch, and that's why she's going to lose this. And it's like, doesn't rush into the clinch ever. She goes for takedowns immediately, but she is allergic to the clinch.
Yeah, she maybe used to do it more. Like she would accidentally end up there, but especially now, like her distance management is on point. It's a big part of why this fight sucks so much because Nunes knows her range, and she's not willing to let it get taken away.
Yeah, this is the most clear Shevchenko round, and possibly the most clear round of the fight so far.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was just looking at the punch stats, and apparently Nunes landed more in every single round.
Yeah.
It's just that in this one, she's had the clean telling blows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's that, like I said, she can just find a place where she can just go dink and just stick her jab out, and Nunes has to. I mean, Shevchenko has to cover a tremendous amount of distance to catch up with her because she's just basically standing there.
Man, this was a really good, disappointing fight to pick.
Yeah, it truly
extremely
is.
disappointing. It really is.
High level and technical and completely awful.
It could have been so much more, man.
There's like one last bit of awfulness left.
I can't think too, like going back into the corner after 4 rounds of this, are both corners not just screaming at them?
Yeah,
do
something.
You have very likely lost this fight, and you need to win it right now.
Let's get a little audio. Let's hear.
The other thing about this fight is that the other reason why I don't feel like Shevchenko should be can be angry is because throughout the fight, Nunes looks thrilled with how she's doing. She's like, "Shit, I'm going to the 5th round. I've never fought for 25 minutes before."
Yeah.
She's offering to touch gloves. She looks fucking thrilled with how things are going the whole time. Whereas Shevchenko is just constantly pissed off. You can't look pissed off in a close fight. Benson Henderson would never look pissed off in a close fight.
Yeah. Shevchenko is doing the very subdued version of blaming the other guy for not engaging with you. Of the other guy keeps using his footwork and you throw your hands up. She's just doing that. She's that mentality in a very subdued way. You're right. Nunes is
can't look mad, but the thing is, you can be intimidated. You can look mad if you're being aggressive with it, because then it looks like you're being scary. If you look mad and you are backing up, that is terrible.
Bad optics for the judges.
Yeah, it's just terrible optics, and that's what garbage ass fights like this can get scored on. It's just going to get scored on who I thought had on body language.
Yeah, who had the facial expression of someone who's ineffectual.
Yeah.
Nunes is little flurries from Shevchenko for a minute, and that went away immediately back to walking backwards and being unhappy.
I think this still could be a transformative fight for Amanda Nunes. This is the start of a new Amanda Nunes who knows how to pace herself, but because I think in this one, really, it's it was a goal for her.
Oh yeah, I think it was an overcorrection on a problem where she's I need to fix this. I need to prove I can fix this, and so she just really overcorrected to fix it.
But she does seem very satisfied with the fact that she's still in this fight, that she's controlled, that it's been close and competitive the whole way. It's a kind of a new experience for her because Nunes throughout her entire career has either been blowing people out or getting blown out. Yep. So this is it's a new kind of win for her. Maybe she was kind of caught up in this wholly new experience. Having literally never had a slow fight.
And she's just never gonna there's no one on the docket who's as skilled as Shevchenko is. Even if Shevchenko is not fighting her, an optimal fight, there's just no one as good as her. Really.
I mean, that's one of the few things that, even though I don't think Nunes would win, it makes me really interested in a Nunes Cyborg fight.
Yeah,
is because not only could she potentially be patient enough to last, but Nunes is always going to be dangerous for as long as she lasts. It's not the Holly Holm situation where you're she can't hurt her. I mean, Holly Holm was stronger than Cyborg in that fight. She was the stronger woman in the cage. Whenever they clinched up, Holm pushed Cyborg around. But Holly Holm didn't have any ability to actually hurt Chris Cyborg. So the ability to be tough and last throughout the fight didn't matter. And even if Nunes couldn't last all 5 rounds, even if she was more likely to get knocked out, she's a lot more likely to be dangerous as long as it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you wanna win as an underdog, you need dynamic offense, and Amanda Nunes has a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that we get to see that fight get made, because I do think it has genuinely more interest than any other fight Chris Cyborg could take at this point.
Oh yeah. I mean, other than that, it's just, it's just sacrifices.
Yeah. Pam Sorensen, right? Let's campaign for Pam Sorensen versus Chris Cyborg.
Oh yeah.
So we should have seen more of that, from Shevchenko. She went for a hip toss after they tied up. She failed. She ended up on the bottom, but it's you could have been doing that from round 2 and just making Nunes work, just making her respond.
Yep.
Making her stop the takedown, making her explode, because that is Nunes is one of her greatest assets. She's a phenomenal athlete.
It's also that like it was such a risky takedown to go for, and
they all are.
It's the classic silly. It's the classic silly takedown. I love the way that like this fight has almost no risks taken, and then like right at the end it's like fuck it, head and arm throw, here we go, and just losing and getting the back taken. Like that lost her the fight. She's
kind of the nail in the coffin. It kind of emphasizes how uninteresting the rest of the fight was. It's like you spend 24 minutes doing nothing, and then your first attempt is a rolling thunder. It's like, why did you think that was going to work?
It did, but you're right though. It did force Nunes to actually try and expend energy and engage her hard in a way that she wasn't before.
And Shevchenko's very well conditioned. She's very calm. She should have been doing that from the beginning. Just make Nunes do this. Make her get on top of you and beat you up a little bit. Even you're going to have to wear some damage, but that's how you beat somebody like Nunes. You make her work.
And again, like Nunes, I mean, Shevchenko does more damage than Nunes does off all this takedown and everything that we see here. But it doesn't fucking matter, because all that you see is like a fight where no one did anything, and then a fight where someone did something incredibly stupid and then looked really pissed off, and the other one was like, yes, this is, and so all the stuff and the actual fight was so minimal that like.
Shevchenko does like that. Just watching this, she comes off very badly in this fight, doesn't she?
Yeah. It makes me kind of glad that she lost.
She's all annoyed and mad there at the end. Like, what was that about? You just fought that fight. You participated in everything that happened up to this point. You are in part responsible for how frustrating this fight was. So like, don't get frustrated at Nunes.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's like one of those ones where I can vaguely understand the getting super pissed off if it was one of these ones where like the other person was circling around the whole time. If you're getting John Fitch, Ryan Hall, but like you were the one backing up the whole time. What did you want her to do?
Yeah, this is like what was that fight? The David Tamer versus
look at that highlight.
Drakkar Close. That was
David Tamer versus Drakkar Close, where it's literally just like all he's doing is using some footwork, and you are so flummoxed that you can't understand how fighting works anymore.
That wasn't even the best part of that. The best part of that is that Close couldn't even wait 40 seconds before he started to get mad and start gesturing. It was like Tamer showed him half a minute of some footwork, and it enraged him. It's like, what is this cheat code bullshit?
More than that, he got the referee to warn him.
I know.
Herb Dean's one of his worst moments. Herb Dean getting suckered.
Atrocious.
Yeah.
We may have to do that one as a bad fight sometime, because
it wasn't even a bad fight, because Tamer really kind of lit Close up.
Well, maybe it's a good bad fight then, because it is still a fight that sticks out as bad in the memory.
There's a bad element, a very notable bad element to it.
It's a strategically bad fight, just because Close is like, what? What are you going to do? What? Just getting beaten up. Like,
it's, I mean,
there's a plan here somewhere.
Speaking of Shevchenko, like looking frustrated while losing, that's just their close posturing as he gets hit over and over.
That was the master class in looking like a loser while losing a fight.
Yes, anti-bullshit.
Yeah, like I like to think that like that's the thing that would have disappointed Ben Henderson the most. He was probably in his corner. He's a good dude like that. Like it's like, no, do the hair flick. Look like that weren't shit. Like you just want to brush it off your shoulder. Like, come on, man. This isn't.
Give the impression that what's happening is fine. That you're fine with it.
Give the impression that what's happening is beneath you.
Yes, you are winning because of what's happening.
Yes. That it's exactly what you wanted. So much so, and you're not even surprised that you got what you wanted. You're so in control. You're just like, oh yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Man, Ben Hen is the fucking master of bullshitting, isn't he? He's just his whole body language. Once again, a stark contrast between these two. Like Shevchenko looking super focused, looking at the camera the whole time, waiting for the cards. Nunes is just like chatting with her corner.
High five. She went over and did like a double high five with Shevchenko.
Yeah.
It almost makes me like her a little more. It's like, she won a certain kind of victory, which is having a very uncharacteristic fight for 5 rounds straight. And she did it.
I don't really understand what there is not to like about Amanda Nunes.
Oh, she's very likable, isn't she?
Yeah. Everybody hates her, but yeah.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. That whole like her injury thing when Dana White threw her under the bus for being sick.
Why do people still get mad at fighters for getting injured? Haven't we seen this enough times with Dana White fucking lying his ass off about some made up injury or the extent of it, or the UFC doctor who said they were fine?
Yeah.
Why do people still fall for this?
I don't know. Because it's because actually being like heckling and being mad at athletes is a lot easier, honestly.
Yeah. It's the even less effective version of like asking to speak to someone's manager. It's like a totally powerless way of having some power, some effect on the world around you. Oh, I get to talk shit about an athlete who's way more successful than me.
Yeah, I mean the problem with Dana is that he's the famous rich guy. He's that rich businessman who gets to follow his dream of like running a sports company, but he's done that of like owning a sports company or being a big part of it. He's had that entire process while still being in the same fucking job. He's been bought out and given the money, and is now like he's now not like in a lot of these cases. These guys are sort of they're motivated to like do really well. Whereas in fact, all it's done with him is just cut away his incentive to do his job properly. Yep. He's just like, well, now I'm just here to just shit on people and just say what I want.
Yep. Failing upwards and screaming, the Dana White story. Yeah, just getting redder over time. Redder and madder. Well, I mean, that wasn't I don't know. I did find that kind of compelling from a certain perspective. I definitely I mean, this wasn't planned, but I did start this. Fuck you. I did start this fight saying I blame Nunes more than I blame Shevchenko, and now I feel totally the opposite by the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always kind of blame Shevchenko.
Yeah. Just like, I mean, I guess that makes sense because I also feel like I blame Wonderboy more than Woodley in their fight as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to blame Wonderboy.
Yeah. I mean,
especially because he saw exactly what Woodley was going to do.
The blame goes to both of them. They share the terrible fight, but if you have to pick somebody, if you had to, gun to your head, had to say, this is the person who's punished for this, it would be the challenger in both cases.
Shevchenko's like, look, I threw all the nothing I could. What do you want?
She's like, where's my adoring public who loved that fight? You guys know I won that, right?
Meanwhile, Joe Rogan's like, did you take enough Alpha Brain? Because that may be your real problem here.
Is that the one that Joe Rogan takes? Alpha Brain? Isn't that the isn't Alpha Brain the soy boy one, the Paul Joseph Watson one that has tons of soy in it?
I don't know.
Do you know about that? Paul Joseph Watson had a major part in creating the soy boy thing, and how it like makes you an effeminate baby. And you know how you become not an effeminate baby is you take Alpha Brain, which, as it turns out, is mostly derived from soy.
That's
nice.
One of life's great ironies.
Love the idea that Paul Joseph Watson would ever try to claim any manly curve over anyone.
Oh my god. Well, this was torturous. The first two though, not bad. John Fitch doing his thing was okay, and holy shit, Kohsaka's boxing was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've got to say, like him suddenly turning it on, and being like
the turn, man.
Just like suddenly turning it around into being a 4-dimensional martial artist, not 3-dimensional.
No,
I think we could clearly see him pulling skills directly from the future.
He certainly advanced to a future age when Chemo Leopoldo was very old and very tired.
But yeah, that was Nunes Shevchenko was just as annoying as I remember it. With just the only thing keep getting me through it was laughing at how annoyed Shevchenko was getting.
It was that was part of what made it more compelling this time through. I won't lie.
Nah, I had no fun at all.
I didn't have much. I'm just looking for anything here. Saying looking for crumbs.
All right. Well, on that note,
we made
crumbs or no, I think we should close the show. You can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSimon. You can find Connor on Twitter at BoxingBush. That's BUSCH. You can find Phil on Twitter at EvilGregJackson. You can find all three of us over at BloodyElbow.com. Give us a like, thumbs up over on YouTube down there. That helps us way more than you think it does. I swear to God. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMANation.com, DOTCOM, all spelled out. That's where you get all the latest Bloody Elbow shows, videos, news, analysis, all that stuff we do week in, week out. We will be back with the MMA Depressed Us again next week. Another delightful round of terrible, mired in the drudgery punishment. And we'll also have 6-round retro and all sorts of, if I did it, and all sorts of stuff like that. I'll be back tomorrow with another Bloody Elbows Sin MMA Classics with John Nash. We'll be talking about another movie from the library of great combat sports films.
Never Back Down 2.
Never Back Down 2. That's right. Phil's got it in 1.
Never ever back down.
Then I will also be doing a vivisection for the Invicta Fight card tomorrow. So tune in for that as well. Thanks, everyone, and we will see you next time.